Hello and welcome to the MSPpedia. How you doing?
How you doing, man? Not bad.
Okay. Now we're here to talk about your new album, which is called Send Away the Tigers. Now the first thing that struck me about it was how much of it references previous work of yours, some of it in the lyrics, but particularly in the artwork, which is kind of reminiscent of the Holy Bible. Just wondering if there's any particular significance or reason for doing that.
Just wanted to reclaim
what's ours.
What's ours, not just in in the backward R's, in the sense of making kind of glamorous rock anthems with a punk edge, just all the things we thought we were good at, what would symbolise times when we've been kind of happy of how we projected ourselves. That's what we wanted to use. We just wanted to reclaim, all our best bits.
And does that suggest maybe that in more recent times you felt you'd lost sight of what you did best?
I think kind of like, we definitely felt as if that came to a peak on Lifeblood.
Okay.
And it's, kind of like Lifeblood is a really listenable record for me because sometimes I don't really understand it myself,
okay.
A lot of it, but I think that's good. But I think, we did realise that kind of like, that we'd kind of like discarded a lot of what our identity was. We discarded our true nature. And, sometimes to go back to it and it's like going back and just finding something which is yours and just thanking God that you found it. And that's where it was, whether it be with the ascetic nature of some of the stuff on the artwork of the record or the way we sound, we just rediscovered, the actually true nature of us and we just thought, well, it's ours,
Do you think you and Nicky doing solo albums helped to get perspective on that and what you do well?
I think so. No, I think kind of what it taught me doing my solo record is that sometimes, to be in a rock band like the Manics, is to sometimes discard subtlety.
Right.
Sometimes not to worry if there's, if tenderness is missing sometimes, it doesn't matter. The power of what the band can project is more important than anything else. I think we lost sight of that. We were trying to reinterpret ourselves, we were trying to find a different version of ourselves, we were delineating, deconstructing. And it was just, that there'll be a song on the album like, Rendition, where we thought we were losing the song because the power was just so overbearing in the way we were projecting and playing it. But we realised that's what we were like at the start. It's good to be taken over by the beast sometimes.
Right. Okay. Talking about what you were like at the start and sort of power and that kind of thing. In early interviews, you used Appetite for Destruction as a kind of almost like a benchmark album of something to aspire to, and it still seems to be there. The influence of that album I can still hear on a song like Autumn Song, for example. Do you still hold that album in the same high regard as you did 15 years ago?
I do. I think it's the album that put roll back into rock.
Right.
Before that, everything was in a cul-de-sac of hard rock. Had just had reached its nadir and hair bands, and there was no meaning. But Guns N' Roses put kind of social comment, mixed it with a real nihilism and a rock and roll swagger. And it is still prevalent, it manifests itself, whether it's Steve Adler's drumming or Duff's bass sound,
yeah.
or Axl's just knack of looking at something and getting it really right. The tenderness of kind of the lyric of Sweet Child of Mine placed in such a rock context. And I still listen to it a lot.
Are you looking forward to Chinese Democracy? Or have you given that away?
No, I'm not, because there's footage of Guns N' Roses when really early on, just after Appetite for Destruction had just come out, they played this gig at the Ritz, I think, in New York, I think it was. And it's the peak of any band, I think, and it's got all the original members there. And for me, the reason that made, Guns N' Roses such an amazing metal stroke punk stroke rock and roll experience was that kind of like, it was the perfect band chemistry. They may have hated each other at some points, but it was a perfect chemistry when they actually made music together.
Did everyone. I don't think anyone hated anyone else.
And it's kind of like, so without that kind of real, kind of like almost romantic chemistry that they had, I find it hard to get excited.
It's just not the same having Buckethead, is it, and compared to Izzy Stradlin, is it?
Yeah. Do you feel that that's not been topped since? Do you think that's like a high point in recent times of that?
For me, yeah, they are kind of like, if you want to be, you're a train spotter about it. It's Izzy Stradlin was kind of like, more of a Rolling Stones influence.
Yeah.
Slash was kind of like definitely more of a, Richie Blackmore, Jimmy Page figure. And just like, and then you had Duff McKain, who just brought the punk influence to the band. You had Stephen Popcorn Adler, the drummer, who was just empty-headed rock and roll.
Not all drummers are like that.
And Axl was insane. That's perfect. You've got,
I think Axel has kind of cemented his position. I think he's taken over Brian Wilson as the most incredibly insane person in
well, you need people like that.
You do. It's just a shame that apparently he's re-recorded Appetite and Use Your Illusion 10 times, and he's like the Lee Mavers of.
Doesn't sound good, does it? Okay. So, what do you make of the current British music scene at the moment? Are you fans of anyone sort of new or newish?
Yeah, I like the Klaxons a lot. I think they got a real severe case of huge ambition, which I always find enthralling. Kind of like Maximo Park as well. Strange Death of Liberal England I really like, but I don't know if they've got signed yet.
Boys? There's a couple of things around. Obviously I've only heard one or two things from the Gallows, but
they look good.
I don't know if I'm going to love them or not, but I just definitely want to like them. And there's definitely kind of like this malcontent power there, which you don't hear much in British music, I think. So, you look forward to just hearing an album from them, for me,
Okay.
Tomorrow?
I don't like much of it. But, Block Party was alright.
Yeah.
That would do.
I like
they're a good mess. Yeah, they're a good mess of things. So.
Okay.
That's about it, really.
Let's talk about the single now. Obviously, you've got Nina from the Cardigans on vocals. Did you have her in mind when you were writing the song, or did that come about later?
Yeah, we are, the last two Cardigans albums in particular, we are genuinely huge, deep admirers to the point of stalking. And I think she got a bit scared at times where our knowledge of her songs was so deep. And when the song was written, she was always the number one choice. We were all a bit scared to ask her because she's a bit, I really admire her lyrics as well. But it's just pure serendipity. Everything really came off. The track was recorded really quickly. James went to New York and did her vocals, and it's just one of those things when you're in your career in a band that hits the spot 100%. It's just the fact that it's come off is kind of feeling of deep satisfaction with the whole process.
Okay. Now, you've always been known right from the start for the sort of political content of your lyrics and so on. Have your politics changed over the years? Have you kind of mellowed out, or have you become more cynical, less idealistic?
I think that was the problem. We became too cynical. Me in particular. The point of nihilism, especially with my solo record, was just I think someone described it as the anti-everything record, and that is good fun and it's hugely enjoyable, but it's actually not very constructive. And I think a lot of our views are still the same, but they're just. I don't think mellow's the right word. I think we just try and do things in a more proportionate sense now. And there's kind of slightly more fear these days, because I don't think when we first came on you could literally say anything and not worry, and you could make mistakes. You make mistakes as you're growing up, but I think you'd get too vilified with the stuff we did at the start.
Well, talking about that specifically, I was going to ask, and I will ask, is there anything that you've said in interviews in the past that you now regret?
Millions of things for me. It's pretty obviously directed at me. But there is. I'm not one of these I find it really depressing when you get the old, I don't regret anything, everything I did, I'd do it again if I could. There's millions of things I would kind of... But the only thing I can say is that it is a process in my brain of trying to think I'm doing the right thing. It's just 10% of the time it comes out as meaningless drivel and shit, and the rest of the time I'm hopefully doing the right thing.
So if I could ask maybe James and Sean, is there anything that Nicky's ever said that you regret?
I don't think
there's always the obvious ones, but never dwelled upon, and in hindsight.
To be truthful about it, when it was the four of us, when Richey was still around, I think that was probably the time you're referencing where some contentious, perhaps hurtful things might have been said.
It's always in me, as you know.
But kind of like we had such a kind of like go to the mattresses, as they say in the kind of Godfather films. We had such a go to the mattresses kind of mentality. We had such a bunker mentality that perhaps at the time you might have thought, God, why are we in the middle of this kind of hailstorm, shitstorm? But I kind of wouldn't swap the experience, to be honest. I wouldn't swap the kind of the strength it gave us.
Okay. Now, a couple of years ago, you were the kind of slightly surprised winners of a Newsnight poll. Are you aware of this? Where the Holy Bible was kind of referenced as the most influential album ever. Do you think that's evidence that you have helped to kind of shape the political awareness of a generation? And if so, was that always your intention?
I mean, it was a magnificent moment when. I don't know if did you phone me up about it?
I phoned you.
Yeah, and because it is my favourite programme on the TV. Generally, it's something I think teenagers should be forced to watch. I think if you could pass some government laws, one of them would be you must watch Newsnight at least 3 times a week. I think the fact that I don't know our particular, I don't know what you could call it, readership, listenership, actually focused. They knew that I was the thing to vote for. That it would give us such a big thrill. Our particular fan base watches Newsnight, whatever. I don't know. It was a brilliant moment. It was up there with the Ivor Novello Award for me.
Okay. I'm seeing as we're talking about kind of iconic moments from your career, and the line "Libraries gave us power" is possibly your most famous lyric. Do you think the internet now performs a similar kind of function? Do you think it's similarly liberating?
I think
Jump in there, James.
No,
Jump in there.
Maybe not for people in China, but there we go. It's not so liberating for them. But I just think it's just made it too easy for people that they become really lazy and complacent, and people just don't go to libraries anymore and search and research things properly. And just tap in a little word into Google and bang, out come 5 million answers.
I think the problem is taking the mystery out of knowledge.
Yeah.
And knowledge is this is from an old Luddite like me. Sean's not. He is absolutely into anything, but it's just that everything has become much more on the surface. It's not that the content's not there, but it's like just like you said, you read the first sentence and that's it.
But there's that thing of the journey. The journey getting there is a learning process in itself. If you can instantly port yourself to the answer, there's no process involved at all.
So you think the convenience of that is a bad thing then?
I do personally.
I know it is.
I mean, I've had the internet.
Sean's a pioneer
since '92.
That's pretty early.
So with the early dial-up, and I've gone through all the different systems.
Yeah.
And Mac's still the best. And
thanks for that, MSN.
that's all right. But yeah. I just can't see that. I mean, in some respects, it is a good thing, but it's a tool as an addition to, existing.
I don't think it's
knowledge.
spread the knowledge that it kind of purports to.
There's a lot of misinformation on there that people see as being the truth, when obviously anybody with any bit of knowledge can tap up their own little website and put whatever they want on there. And people, because they see it on the screen, in print, that it's the absolute truth when it isn't.
I just for me, there's still a kind of magic involved with books. It's a genuine feeling that there's something special, that it's almost human. I find it hard to deal with things that are not physical.
And perhaps, there's less of an editorial there as well.
So, if I could ask you individually, what's the best thing about being older now than when you started out? What have you kind of learned and gained over the years?
That is tough.
The usual patience is one.
Yeah, I think we learn to be patient. It's the best thing. For me, it's just appreciating all the things that we took for granted. Now your time is much more restricted. Kids and family and business and all the rest of it. I think now we just really appreciate the good things that come with being in a band, because there are lots of them besides the creative expression. Just those little tiny moments of beauty that we have to get. It's genuine. We've known each other since we were 4, the 3 of us, so there's not a kind of lot of ego involved. It's a genuine sense of epiphany.
Would that be true for the rest of you?
So,
Yeah, I mean, kind of like the best thing that kind of like age has given us, I think, is perspective to believe in your mistakes. Is to believe in the power that your mistakes can give you. Is to actually know that kind of if you make one mistake, the whole world's not going to crumble. That you're going to learn from it, and that you're going to come back stronger. They're all big cliches, but unfortunately, you find out that they're true.
Right, okay. My final question is about the song Underdogs, which is obviously about your fan base. You've always attracted a quite devotional kind of element among your fans. It's kind of a 2-part question. One is, why do you think what is it about your music and what you do that attracts that kind of devotional element? And the second part of it is, has it ever got to a stage where fans have actually kind of freaked you out by being so obsessive?
I think the kind of like the one thing that kind of our music has been unique in giving to perhaps people that have liked us is that we do fuse the cerebral and the physical. I mean, kind of, I think when we were very young, when we were 16, we were obsessed with wanting to be the Clash. And then, the years go by and you realise you've never really sounded much like them. But I do think that kind of like we achieved what they did. Kind of like, to actually kind of like go through the thought process of knowing the kind of band you want to be, knowing the kind of songs you want to write, and just being kind of quite overwrought about that process of thinking about things and then just letting go when you perform. Just letting go, just really just being physical about it and just having that sense of a band. And I think that's connected with a lot of people. Just kind of like, they realise that kind of like behind the scenes we do think about it a lot, but when we actually go to them, we've let go of all those things and we're just there.
I think as a band we were a concept before we were a band, and if you got a concept, then you just buy into that band a lot more. That if there's something beyond the music, it becomes a lifestyle choice almost, and all the best bands have been like that. It's not easy enough just to buy a Coldplay record and go home and whistle along to it. It doesn't really happen with us, and the people who stayed with us that long, obviously something is triggered in them much deeper than that. It's deeper in their brain and deeper in their heart, I think. And they almost feel, they are our biggest critics as well as our biggest fans. But no, our fans. I think it's a healthy debate. There's a constant discourse between us and them, and so it's good that it's us and them. I'm not going to pretend to you we go for a drink with the fans or anything. There's always been much more respect than that. We've never had a fan club. We've never kind of done anything cheesy and ripped people off. It's a healthy respect.
I think also there's our relationship with our fans sometimes has been quite spiky. It's been real, and sometimes I think they've said things which we find quite hurtful and quite way off the mark. But it's kind of like we always seem to kind of regenerate kind of a relationship with them. It's kind of this lot of forgiveness, it's kind of like there's a lot of forgiveness between us and them. Sometimes they make mistakes, sometimes we do.
It's like a marriage in a sense.
It is. Tiny bit.
Severely fucked up one. But some upset. It has got to the point where letters in blood and various other things, especially around the Holy Bible, it did get to a point where it did seem slightly unhealthy.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Cool.
Great.
Cheers, man.